Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi. Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Right now, air raid sirens are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. The Iranians have started their response to the American and Israeli airstrikes. Right now,
James Flippin is with us as well as Jake Novak. Let me ask both of you gentlemen. I just got a text from someone who will be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. His name is Joel Rosenberg. He is an author that has written about the Mideast in the form of novels extensively for decades. Prior to that, of course, worked with the Limbaugh Letter, Rush Limbaugh's newsletter. Also has worked very closely with Bibi Netanyahu and other figures. Lives in Israel. He's in Washington at the moment. And he just texted me that this could prove the most important Mideast war since 1948. Let me ask you, James Flippin and Jake Novak, what are your thoughts on the impact of this operation that are still in the opening hours today?
Well, I mean, I'll just jump in quickly, Bo. This is James Flippin here in the Red Apple Audio Newsroom. You know, we were talking about it, Jake Novak and I, before your show started on one of the local affiliates, that this is coming at an extremely important moment for the Middle East. Of course, we know the ongoing tensions between Israel and all of Iran's proxies, but also these uprisings that have been going on in Iran for the better part of almost 3 months now. And many people, in terms of experts covering it on the ground, talking about it's the most significant type of uprising there since really the Islamic Republic came to be in 1979. So I can only hope and imagine that this is going to be sort of the major event that could lead to a more physical uprising, more intense uprising. I mean, the implications are kind of horrifying there, but at the same time, we know that there's going to be major events that will take place if, in fact, the current leadership, the Islamic Republic Guard and all that is going to be deposed. So I don't know, Jake. I mean, I'm curious your take on it as an expert on the region, but I know that President Trump has made it pretty clear he feels that the hour of freedom is at hand for the people of Iran.
Absolutely. Now, the reason why 1948 was what was referenced there, James, is because that was the year of Israel's War of Independence. It declared its statehood. The United Nations voted to partition what is now Israel into 2 states, one for the Palestinians, one for the Jews or Israelis. The Palestinians, of course, the Arabs refused that and decided to go to war, and they were joined by 5 Arab countries that invaded what is now Israel in 1948. Israel obviously won that war. They called that their War of Independence. They were constantly hoping to erase that factor. The Arab world was hoping that that would just be a temporary thing. But after Israel won the 6-Day War in 1967, James, it was obvious they were kind of here to stay. There have been, just uniform hostility towards Israel from Arab countries ever since, Muslim countries ever since. But we started to see a change in that, especially most recently with the Abraham Accords, which I think solidified the fact that Sunni nations would no longer be the primary flag bearers against Israel. And that left Iran as the one major evildoer in the region, killer of American soldiers. I talked to James Flippin in the last hour about the hundreds of American soldiers Iran killed in the Gulf War with those roadside bombs, which is why President Trump mentioned them so specifically in his speech this morning and his address to the nation this morning. So if Iran is taken out, that doesn't mean all the bad guys are gone. It's not like the end of Lord of the Rings where the ring is destroyed and all of a sudden all the bad guys disappear get swallowed up by the earth. But it means that the captain of the team, the quarterback, the one with all the firepower, the one that really not only does the weaponry, but also provides the money, the funding, a tremendous infiltration into the American news media by Iran and its proxies elsewhere. That is taken out. And you have a brand new world, not just a brand new Middle East. The only thing I would change about that quote that you made, James, is it would be a brand new world without a powerful Iranian evil regime in place.
Now, Jake, I'd like you, thank you very much. Please explain something to people. You said the Sunni nations, and you differentiated the Sunni nations from, explain to us what you are talking about when you say the Sunni nations.
Well, the two biggest groups in Islam are Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims.
And Shiite, right.
Shia Muslims are Iran is the real capital of Shia Islam throughout the world, always has been. Sunni Islam used to be led by countries like Egypt because it has the largest population, but for many years now it's been Saudi Arabia because of its massive financial power. There's no other way to say this, James. Sunnis and Shias have been at war with each other for 1,400 years, on and off. The United States, even Israel, are actually sideshows in that war. It's really the Sunni-Shia war that has been raging for 1,400 years, on and off. That doesn't always end up being full-on armies, but they don't like each other. And one of the things that Iran and the Shias hate about Sunni Islam is that because the holy sites of Mecca and Medina are in Saudi Arabia, under Sunni control, it is their dream of a lifetime, of many lifetimes, to take over those holy sites and to defeat Sunni Islam and to take over those sites. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people don't understand, well, where does America and Israel play in this? Well, they're kind of sideshows. Both Sunni and Shia Islam, they try to pretend that they're the greatest defenders of Islam. So when they perceive there as an enemy to Islam, be it Israel or the United States, who are not enemies of Islam, by the way, but that's the lie that they tell their people, they both want to be the toughest kids on the block when it comes to that. It appears that with the Abraham Accords and a number of other things, including the Camp David Accords all the way back in 1978-79, which were not completely a failure. Israel and Egypt have not gone to war. They don't love each other, but they have not gone to war. You can't forget that. It does appear that Sunni Islam is at least willing to take a more moderate approach. And they've proved that. Again, I don't say that they haven't supported terrorism in a big way. That's certainly a factor. But it does seem to have been reduced ever so slightly, while Iran doubles, triples, quadruples down on it. And again, if we only have Sunni powers still in power in the Middle East, along with Israel, when this is over, then we're dealing with a much more moderate group, a group that we sort of are able to make deals with here and there. I don't completely trust them. I don't completely trust Britain and France either, frankly. So let's put that in perspective. But honestly, that would be an entirely different war it would be a different world. And by the way, it would be a different world than what we see. All these people who say all these anti-American things and do these protests, a lot of that, James, is Iranian money.
Jake, let me just interrupt you for one moment.
Yeah.
I love this analysis, but I just have to ask you. You just mentioned Britain and the UK and France. Under Keir Starmer, Britain a week ago denied their oldest ally and rebellious child, who is now the parent, the access to sites to help stage for this. And I have not heard much about Macron, but he cannot be happy here. So for a minute, can we just take a detour and delve into what this attack means for the Western European powers, particularly the UK under Keir Starmer and Macron?
Well, first and foremost, and this is a term a lot of people have been using lately about countries like Europe, about countries like Canada, suicidal empathy. Iran has had the ability to hit certain European targets for quite some time. Whether they had it in the last few months since Operation Midnight Hammer or not is questionable. But honestly, they are in the sights. President Trump talked about how they're trying to build in Iran an ICBM intercontinental ballistic missile that could hit the United States. But they threaten Europe. They've been threatening Europe for quite some time. And they're still not taking a hard line for their own people. You know, President Trump in the State of the Union address, we all saw it, James, where he asked everyone to stand up if they believe that protecting American citizens is more important than helping illegal immigrants. And none of the Democrats stood up. Well, we could have the same moment in Europe. Protecting your own people from an Iranian attack is more important than your oil money or whatever else you're trying to do or whatever kind of woke ideology you're trying. And none of the European leaders would stand up either. I mean, this is absolute suicide on their part. They are actually, the people of Europe might be the biggest beneficiaries today, whether they deserve it or not, considering how they vote. I don't know. Next
question. I have to axe a little Ebonic language there just to make sure that we cover all the bases. I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay? What about immigration in Western Europe? You're talking about some of the same dynamics at work there. You have, if the UK decides, yep, we want to help the United States and wipe out this force of evil in the world, state-sponsored terrorism from Iran, and you have France, who dare not. First of all, at least France didn't surrender already, at least publicly. But, okay, so you have France. What if they just said, we want to help? What would be the impact because of immigration into their own nations?
Well, I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you. First of all, if France decides to say something supportive about this, and there are riots in the illegal, and really not just the illegal, but the migrant communities of France, I can tell you right now, the headline will be French youth attack cars. You know, they always say it's French youth when it's these migrants from Islamist countries paid off by Islamist terrorist groups to attack and torch cars and to really attack. I always say, don't call them protests, call them attacks. It's the same thing here in the United States. You block traffic to ambulances going to hospitals. That's an attack. That's not a protest. And same thing in France, although it's much worse. You're hitting on something very important, James, which is that Europe has been overrun with a massive migration from these very, very radical countries. This is exactly the thing that we've been trying to stop here in the United States. Obviously, President Trump, the only one really having any success with that. And, of course, really the only one really standing up to it, at least for the last 30 years or so. 30 years ago, the Democrats used to talk about it, but they don't anymore. So you're absolutely right. And that's part of and I should have made that point. It wasn't just oil money and woke ideology. A lot of the European leaders are scared to death of these migrant communities who live in no-go zones and in their own municipalities, basically, who could unleash hell on their own countries. But let's be honest here. The choir still needs music, James. And if you knock out the head of the snake in Iran, you knock out their financial abilities in Iran, and you show the world that there's nothing left to fight for, your regime is gone. Maybe that will help quell any French youth from torching cars tonight. Let's put it that way.
Well, and then let me just ask you this, and then we'll head to a break. We have, folks, if you're on hold, please stay on hold. Thank you. Our lines are jammed, but you can reach us at 800-848-9222 when we start taking calls. Let me just ask you about this. The implications of this go far deeper. We are talking about implications with Iran that, number one, spread to their alliances in South America and Latin America, that spread to their influence as far away as Indonesia, which is one of the largest Islamic populations in the world, and the Pacific, the Southeast Asian theater, where you have growing, including the Philippines. The Philippines has a north-south. If you go below Luzon and you're further down south, they were dealing with their own terrorism, and a lot of that comes funded from the nation state of Iran. The implications of this action today are global. It's not just the Mideast. It's not just Western Europe. It extends through Latin America. It extends through Southeast Asia. What are your comments on that, Nick? Jake, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know what? It's a great point that you're making, because Iran has been interested in foreign meddling and foreign wars. And you mentioned all these different theaters of the world. You know, a couple of years ago when we learned that that one of the largest groups of people that was coming over our open borders under Joe Biden were Venezuelans, it scared the bejesus out of me because we knew at that point for years that Iran had Hezbollah operatives in Venezuela, in addition to all the other lowlifes that were coming over. So we were worried about that. I was extremely worried about that. But you know what? Here's something really interesting, James. You know, you're seeing Iran right now responding to this attack by firing missiles at Israel, firing missiles at Bahrain, firing missiles at Qatar. You know where they're not firing missiles? Over their own country. Where's their own air defense? And that is a perfect example of what Iran's been all about for 47 years. Attacking their enemies, but not protecting their own homeland. I haven't seen one report of one anti-aircraft bullet or missile fired at the Israeli jets or at the U.S. naval vessels in the Persian Gulf. That should tell you all you need to know.
Wow. Amazing. Let's head out to Indiana, my friends, and check in with Marianne, who's on the phones, been patiently waiting. Those of you on hold, thank you. Please stay on hold. Marianne, what is on your mind this morning?
Good morning, James. I would like to know why it hasn't been reported that Joe Biden gave $10 billion to the Iran for nuclear warheads.
Where are you sourcing that information?
From a long time ago where it has been...
Okay, I think you might have Joe Biden confused with Obama, who delivered pallets of cash in the middle of the night. But let us check in with Jake Novak and see what Jake has to say about all of that. Jake?
Yes,
both the billions of dollars that flowed to Iran.
Marianne, you're pretty darn correct there. Both the Obama and Biden administrations handed cash over to Iran. Obviously, the Obama administration doing much more. And, you know, look, where that money was going to go, there's going to be plenty of denials from Obama and Biden. Oh, it wasn't for a weapons program. Folks, let's learn a term that's really important to understand. Money is fungible. If I give money to a murderer and say, this is for your cup of coffee, and now he has a little bit more money that he can spend to buy a gun, I mean, it's come on, folks. So this idea that this was going to not lead to it, the thing about the Iran nuclear deal that everyone told Barack Obama, and when I say everyone, I don't mean people like me and the conservative news media and Republicans. His own administration officials and top advisors told President Obama, you free up this money to Iran via the nuclear deal, it will result in a lot more local terror. He took that as a trade-off. I don't know about you, but whether I'm killed by a nuclear bomb or by a roadside bomb, I'm just as dead either way. This was an insane, I think very unwise diplomatic attempt. And President Trump made it very, very clear in the days leading up to this that we tried diplomacy. We preferred diplomacy, but we've been trying diplomacy for 47 years. And to directly quote President Trump, all of the things that we got in return from it, terrorism, killing, threats, we can't take it anymore. That's what President Trump said just a few hours ago. So the Biden stuff, they'll never say, well, it was going to the weapons program. But you give them billions of dollars. They weren't going to give it to like build schools and have a nice restaurants and things like that. It was all for building terrorist weapons. That's where it goes. Anyone who doesn't understand that is a complete fool. And I guess we had fools in Biden and Obama. The only alternative is that they were traitors. I don't know what else to say. It's a harsh word. I understand that. I say it advisedly. But again, Barack Obama's own advisors told him, you make this nuclear deal, you might get some traction and stop them with nuclear weapons for a little while. But you understand that a decent percentage of this money is going to go to terrorism. And President Obama said, OK, take the deal. And that's what we got.
Take the deal.
Our taxpayer money that I have to go pay my taxes today, and I'm not real happy about it.
Well, it was not only your taxpayer money, some of it was, but it was also Iranian money that had been frozen since the terror attacks of earlier terror attacks. So you had money that was frozen from the 9/11 years in the Iranian government. That money was frozen. Obama unfroze those assets. And then in the dead of night, and I'm not kidding about this, shipped cash. Pallets of cash in the middle of the night to the Iranian regime. It was one of the most despicable acts, I think, of almost any American president toward appeasement. And as Jake said, it got us nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, My friends, thank you for your call. Marianne, if you want to be on the phones with us, 800-848-9222 is the number. Our number duo. Coming up, our number uno is headed to the can right now. If you want to be part of the program, 800-848-9222 is gonna, folks, lot to talk about. So whatever you do, keep it right here and do not go away. Again, you want to reach us? 800-848-9222. Stay right there.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.